you ever checked into a hotel room and found a handwritten note tucked beneath your pillow? Mine said 5 words. Don't answer if they knock 3 times. I didn't listen. November 14th, 2019. Somewhere off Route 47 in eastern Ohio. One of those highway motels you only stop at when exhaustion leaves you no other choice. To this day, I cannot explain what happened inside room 614. And neither can the front desk clerk, neither can the police. Because according to every blueprint, every record, every floor plan on file, that hotel only has 5 floors. Room 614 doesn't exist. But I was inside it. Let me take you back to how it started. Because it started normally. That's what makes it worse. My car had broken down around midnight. Radiator, middle of nowhere, Ohio, no cell signal, nothing but corn and darkness for miles. I walked. For almost 3 hours, I walked. At 2:47 a.m., I remember the time exactly because I checked my phone. I saw the sign, vacancy, red neon buzzing like it was barely alive. The Lockwood Motor Inn, the only hotel for 60 miles in any direction. The parking lot wasn't empty, that's the thing. There were at least a dozen cars, a family minivan, a pickup truck, someone's sedan with Ohio plates. But when I pushed through the front doors, the lobby was silent, completely empty. No clerk, no guests, no sound at all except the hum of the vending machine in the corner. I walked to the front desk and rang the bell. Nothing. I rang it again. Nothing. The 3rd time I pressed it, she was already standing there, right in front of me. Like she'd been there the whole time. I don't know how I didn't see her approach. The lobby wasn't that big. There was nowhere she could have come from that quickly. But there she was, a woman in her 60s, maybe older, gray hair pinned back, wearing a burgundy blazer that looked like it belonged to another decade. And she was smiling. Not a polite smile, not a customer service smile. She smiled at me for too long before she spoke. 5 seconds, maybe 6. Just holding eye contact, saying nothing. Then she said 4 words that made my stomach drop. We've been expecting you. I hadn't made a reservation. I didn't even know this hotel existed until I saw it from the road. I told her that. I laughed a little, nervous, and said, I think you have me confused with someone else. I just need a room for the night. She didn't correct herself. She just kept smiling. I told myself she was just being friendly, small town hospitality. Maybe she said that to all the guests. Maybe she was a little eccentric. I was tired. I needed sleep. I wasn't going to let a strange greeting send me back into the darkness. She slid a leather-bound registry toward me. Not a computer, not a tablet. A handwritten guest book, the pages yellowed at the edges. I signed my name. She watched me write every letter. Then, without looking at a screen, without checking availability, she reached beneath the counter and placed a key in front of me. Not a key card. A brass key, old, heavy, the kind with actual teeth. The tag attached to it said 615. Room 614, she said. 6th floor. End of the corridor. I picked up the key and nodded, turning toward the elevator. That's when she added something. Checkout is at sunrise, not after. I laughed. I thought it was a joke, some quirky local policy like those bed and breakfasts with strange house rules. Not after, I repeated, smiling. What happens if I oversleep? She didn't laugh. She didn't blink. She just said, you won't. I decided to stop asking questions. The elevator was old, one of those cage-style lifts with the accordion metal gate. It groaned when the doors opened, like it hadn't been used in years. I stepped inside and looked at the buttons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was it. There was no button for floor 6. I turned back to the front desk to tell her, but she was already watching me, still smiling. And before I could say a word, she spoke. "Take the stairs, past the 5th floor. You'll find it." Then she turned away, conversation over. The stairwell was narrow. Concrete steps, metal railings, buzzing fluorescent lights. It looked exactly like every hotel stairwell I'd ever been in. I climbed past the 1st floor, the 2nd, the 3rd. Each landing had a door with a number painted on it. Each one looked the same. By the time I reached the 5th floor, my legs were burning. I stopped to catch my breath. And then I looked up. The stairs kept going. There was no door for the 6th floor on the landing. The stairwell just continued. One more flight, but the architecture was different. The concrete gave way to older wood, warped in places. The fluorescent lights flickered once, twice, then died completely, replaced by a dim amber glow from fixtures I hadn't noticed before. The walls were papered, not painted. Faded floral wallpaper peeling at the seams, the kind you'd see in a house from the 1940s. The temperature dropped, not dramatically, but enough that I noticed, enough that I could see my breath if I exhaled slowly. I reached the top of the stairs. The corridor stretched ahead of me, long, narrow, lit only by those dim amber sconces spaced too far apart. And at the very end, one door, room 614. I told myself this was fine. Old building, renovated floors. Maybe the 6th floor was added later. Maybe it was just poorly maintained. I walked to the door, put the brass key in the lock, turned it. The door opened. The room looked normal, completely normal. A bed with white linens, a small television on the dresser, a nightstand with a lamp, a window with heavy curtains drawn shut. I dropped my bag, sat on the edge of the bed, let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. I was being paranoid. The clerk was odd, the building was old, but it was just a hotel room, nothing more. Then I walked to the window. I wanted to see the parking lot, make sure my car wasn't visible from the road, just in case someone decided to tow it overnight. I pulled back the curtains. The parking lot was there. I could see the cars, the neon sign, the road beyond. But I was looking at it from ground level, not from 6 floors up, not from a height that would show rooftops and treetops. I was looking straight at it, like I was standing on the 1st floor. Like the 6th floor wasn't above anything at all. I stood there for a long time, trying to understand. I couldn't. I should have left right then, but I didn't. I pulled myself away from the window, told myself there had to be an explanation, an optical illusion, a trick of the glass. Maybe the window faced a courtyard I hadn't noticed. Maybe the ground sloped upward on this side of the building. I didn't believe any of it, but I repeated it anyway. Because the alternative was worse. I set my bag on the dresser and started unpacking the few things I'd brought. Phone charger, wallet, a change of clothes for the morning. The room was quiet, too quiet. No hum of an air conditioner, no muffled sounds from other guests, no cars passing outside. Just silence, heavy and complete. I sat down on the edge of the bed, let out a long breath, ran my hands over my face. That's when I felt it. Something under the pillow. I don't know why I didn't notice it before. Maybe I was too focused on the window. Maybe it hadn't been there until that moment. But when I lifted the pillow, there was a note, folded once, old paper, yellowed, brittle at the edges, the kind that crumbles if you're not careful. I picked it up, unfolded it. The handwriting was shaky, uneven, like whoever wrote it had been trembling. Rule 1, don't answer if they knock 3 times. Rule 2, don't look at the bathroom mirror after midnight. Rule 3, if the TV turns on by itself, don't watch. Close your eyes. Rule 4, check out before sunrise, not after. And then, at the bottom, written in different ink, darker, pressed harder into the paper, there was one more line. I broke Rule 2. I'm still here. I stared at those words for a long time. I'm still here. What did that mean? Still here in the hotel? Still here in the room? I almost laughed, almost. Because this had to be a prank, right? Some previous guest with a dark sense of humor. Maybe this was the hotel's gimmick. A haunted room experience for tourists who wanted a thrill. I crumpled the note into a ball, tossed it into the small trash can by the dresser. Then I checked my phone. 12:03 a.m. I had already broken the window for Rule 2. It was past midnight, and I'd glanced at my reflection in the darkened window without thinking. Did that count? Did windows count? I told myself it didn't. Mirrors were mirrors. Windows were different. I set the phone on the nightstand, pulled off my shoes, climbed under the covers. I just needed to sleep a few hours. Then I'd leave at sunrise, before sunrise, and none of this would matter. That was the plan. It didn't work. I don't remember falling asleep. I don't think I did, not fully. I was in that place between waking and dreaming, where sounds feel far away and your body feels heavy. And then I heard it. A knock. Slow. Deliberate. 1, 2, 3. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. My eyes were open, staring at the ceiling, and my heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. The note. The first rule. Don't answer if they knock 3 times. It was a prank. It had to be a prank. But I didn't get up. 10 seconds passed, 20, a full minute. Nothing. No footsteps walking away, no second knock. Just silence. I sat up slowly, swung my legs over the side of the bed. Told myself I was being ridiculous. It was probably just another guest. Wrong room, drunk, confused. It happened all the time. I walked to the door. I pressed my eye to the peephole. The corridor was empty. Dim amber light, faded wallpaper, not a single person in sight. I unlocked the door, pulled it open. Nothing. No one standing there, no one walking away. The corridor stretched in both directions, silent and still. I stepped out, looked left, looked right. Empty. I stood there for a moment, heart still racing, and then I laughed, quietly, nervously. Getting spooked by a prank note, I muttered. Get it together. I stepped back inside, closed the door, locked it. Then I turned around. The note was on the pillow. The same note I'd crumpled up, the same note I'd thrown in the trash. But it wasn't crumpled anymore. It was lying flat, smoothed out, placed deliberately in the center of the pillow, like someone had taken their time arranging it. I walked toward the bed. My legs didn't feel like my own. I picked up the note. It was the same handwriting, the same rules, the same message at the bottom. But there was something new. Below, I broke Rule 2. I'm still here. Below that line, there was another sentence. Different handwriting, neater, more controlled. You shouldn't have opened the door. I looked at the trash can. It was empty. I looked at the door, still locked, still bolted. No one had come in, no one could have come in, but someone had written on that note. Someone had placed it on my pillow, while I was standing 3 feet away. I told myself there was an explanation. A second door I hadn't noticed, a connecting room, some kind of trick, a hidden camera show, something, anything. I searched the room, checked the closet, looked under the bed, ran my hands along the walls looking for seams. Nothing. Just solid walls. One door. One window that looked out at the ground. My hands were shaking. I couldn't stop them. I needed to calm down. I needed to think clearly. I walked to the bathroom, turned on the faucet, splashed cold water on my face. I didn't look at the mirror. I don't know if it was instinct or if some part of me remembered the second rule. But I kept my head down, watched the water swirl in the sink, felt it drip from my chin. Then I reached for the towel. It was hanging to my right, on a rack beside the mirror. And when I reached for it, I glanced up. Just for a second, just a reflex, the kind of thing you do without thinking. I saw myself in the mirror, face wet, eyes tired, skin pale under the fluorescent light. And then I moved to grab the towel. My reflection didn't, not right away. There was a delay, half a second, maybe less. I moved right. My reflection moved right, but later, like a video with lag. I froze. My reflection froze, but it froze after I did. I told myself I was tired, exhausted, seeing things. I turned my head left. A moment later, my reflection turned left. I raised my hand slowly. It raised its hand, slowly, a half beat behind. I stopped moving completely, stood perfectly still, watched. My reflection stopped too. It stood there, exactly as I was standing. Same posture, same wet face, same terrified eyes. And then it smiled. I wasn't smiling. My face hadn't moved, but the reflection's lips curved upward, slowly, deliberately. A smile that stretched too wide, that showed too many teeth, that reached the eyes in a way smiles shouldn't. And it kept smiling, kept staring at me. I don't remember stumbling backward. I don't remember grabbing the door handle. I just remember slamming the bathroom door so hard the walls shook. I stood there with my back against it, breathing hard, heart hammering, hands pressed flat against the wood like I could hold back whatever was on the other side. The bathroom was silent. No sound, no movement, nothing. I looked at my phone on the nightstand, walked over, picked it up with trembling hands. 1:47 a.m. I had hours until sunrise. I wasn't sure I would make it. I couldn't stay in that room. I couldn't stay in that room for another second. Whatever was happening, whatever that thing in the mirror was, I didn't need to understand it. I just needed to get out. I grabbed my bag from the dresser, didn't bother zipping it, didn't bother with my phone charger or anything else. I ran to the door, unlocked the deadbolt, twisted the handle, pulled. It didn't open. I pulled harder, put my shoulder into it. The door rattled in its frame but didn't budge, not even an inch. I looked down at the lock, still unlocked, handle still turned. Nothing was physically stopping it, but the door wouldn't open. I grabbed the brass key from where I'd left it on the nightstand, jammed it into the lock, tried turning it the other way, maybe some old mechanism I didn't understand. The key turned. The door still wouldn't move. It was like the wall had grown around it, like the frame had fused shut, like the room didn't want me to leave. I stepped back, looked at the window. If I couldn't use the door, maybe I could break the glass, signal someone in the parking lot, scream until somebody heard me. I crossed the room in 3 steps, grabbed the curtains, pulled them open. The parking lot was empty. Every single car, gone. The minivan, the pickup truck, the sedan with Ohio plates. All of them. The lot that had been full when I arrived was now completely bare. Except for one, my car. The same car that had broken down 60 miles away. The same car I'd left on the side of Route 47. It was sitting in the middle of the parking lot, running. I could see the exhaust, faint wisps rising into the cold night air. And someone was sitting in the driver's seat. I pressed my face closer to the glass, tried to see who it was. But the figure wasn't moving, wasn't turning, just sitting there, hands on the wheel, staring straight ahead. I couldn't see their face. The angle was wrong. The shadows were too deep. But something about the shape of their shoulders, the way they held their head, it looked like me. I slammed my palm against the window, once, twice, hard enough to hurt. The glass didn't crack, didn't shake, didn't make a sound, and the figure in the car didn't react. Just kept sitting there, perfectly still, waiting for something I couldn't understand. Let me ask you something. Right now, if you were trapped in a room that wouldn't let you leave, with something wearing your face sitting in your car outside, what would you do? Think about that. Really think. And if this story is getting under your skin, if you're watching in the dark, checking your own reflection a little more carefully, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment telling me what you would have done differently. Because I promise you, what comes next is so much worse. Now, where was I? The phone. The landline on the nightstand. Old rotary style, like everything else in this place, but it had to work. Hotels always had working phones. I could call the front desk, demand they let me out, threaten to call the police if they didn't. Someone had to be down there. The clerk, a night manager, anyone. I picked up the receiver. There was a dial tone, faint, crackling, but there. I pressed 0. The phone rang, and rang, and rang. It must have rung 15 times, 20. I counted each one, my grip tightening on the receiver. Then, someone answered. Room 614. How may I help you? It was my voice. Not similar, not close. My exact voice, my exact cadence. The way I clear my throat slightly before speaking. The way I emphasize certain syllables. It was me. I was on the other end of the line. I didn't say anything. Couldn't. And the voice, my voice, waited, patient, breathing softly into the receiver. Then it laughed, a small laugh, almost amused, and the line went dead. I slammed the phone down so hard the nightstand shook. Stood there, heart racing, trying to convince myself I'd misheard, that the line was bad, that it was someone else who just sounded similar. That's when the phone rang. I stared at it, didn't move. It rang again, shrill, insistent. I looked at the small screen on the base, one of those caller ID displays from the 90s. The number calling me was room 614. I was being called from inside my own room. I looked around. The room was empty. Just me. Just the bed and the dresser and the bathroom door I'd slammed shut. No second phone. No one hiding anywhere. But room 614 was calling room 614. The phone kept ringing. 5 times. 6. 7. I grabbed it and threw it onto the bed, watched it bounce once, twice. Then it stopped. Silence. Heavy. Absolute. The screen on the phone base was still glowing. I stepped closer, looked at it. One new voicemail, left at 9:47 p.m. I checked my phone, checked the timeline. 9:47 p.m. was more than 3 hours ago. I hadn't even arrived at the hotel until almost 3 a.m. The voicemail had been left before I got here, before I signed the guest book, before I climbed the stairs to the 6th floor. My hands were trembling as I pressed play. Don't check in. Don't go to the 6th floor. I'm already here. We're already here. It was my voice, warning me, begging me not to come. 3 hours before I walked through the front door, and I'd come anyway. I'd checked in anyway. And now I understood what the note meant. I'm still here. Whoever wrote those rules, whoever left that warning, they hadn't escaped. They were still in this room, still trapped, still waiting. And now, so was I. I couldn't stay in that room. Every corner felt wrong. Every shadow seemed to move when I wasn't looking directly at it. The bathroom door was still closed, and I could have sworn I heard something shifting behind it, something waiting. If I couldn't leave the hotel, maybe I could find someone else, another guest, someone who could help me understand what was happening, someone who knew a way out. Those cars in the parking lot, they hadn't appeared out of nowhere. People had driven them here. People had checked in. They had to be somewhere. I walked to the door, the same door that wouldn't open before. I reached for the handle, turned it. It opened, just like that, no resistance, no struggle, like it had never been stuck at all, like the room had decided to let me go. I should have been relieved. I wasn't, because the corridor had changed. Before, when I first arrived, there had been only one door, room 614, at the end of a long, narrow passage, lined with faded wallpaper and dim amber lights. Now there were more. Room 615, room 616, room 617. Doors stretched in both directions, dozens of them, maybe more. The corridor extended far beyond what should have been architecturally possible. The building wasn't this big. The 6th floor that shouldn't exist now contained an entire wing of rooms. Rooms that hadn't been there 20 minutes ago. I stood in the doorway of 614, looking left, looking right. The corridor was silent. No footsteps, no voices, no sounds of life at all. But the doors were there, and behind those doors, maybe, were people who could help. I stepped out, walked to room 615, raised my hand, knocked 3 times. The moment my knuckles left the wood, I realized what I'd done. 3 knocks, the same pattern from the note. The same pattern that had started all of this. But it was too late to take it back. The door opened. A man stood on the other side. He was smiling. The same too long smile the clerk had given me. The same expression that didn't reach the eyes in the right way. And he looked exactly like me. Same clothes, the same jeans and wrinkled shirt I'd been wearing since my car broke down. Same face, same tired eyes, same stubble I hadn't had time to shave. He was me, standing in the doorway of room 615, smiling at me with my own mouth. I couldn't speak, couldn't move, couldn't do anything but stare. And he stared back, patient, amused, like he'd been waiting a long time for this moment. Then he spoke. "You shouldn't have knocked." The door slammed shut, so hard the frame cracked. So hard the air pressure made my ears pop. I stumbled backward, caught myself against the opposite wall. Through the wood, through the closed door, I heard something. Laughter. My laughter. coming from inside room 615. I ran. I didn't think, didn't plan, just moved. Past room 616, past doors that all looked the same. All identical brass numbers on identical wooden frames. I needed to find someone different, someone who wasn't wearing my face, someone who could tell me what this place was. Room 617. The door was already open. Not all the way, just a few inches, like someone had left in a hurry, or like someone wanted me to look inside. I stopped, stood outside, listened. Silence. No breathing, no movement, nothing. I pushed the door open. The room was identical to mine. Same layout, same bed with white linens, same dresser, same nightstand, same bathroom door on the left. But someone had been living here for a very long time. The walls were covered in tally marks. Not dozens, not hundreds, thousands. Scratched into the wallpaper with something sharp. Groups of 5, over and over, climbing from floor to ceiling on every visible surface. Someone had been counting days. Someone had been trapped here long enough to fill every inch of every wall. Calendar pages were scattered across the floor. I bent down, picked one up. March 1987. Another one. November 1994. Another. June 2003. The dates spanned decades. 30 years, 40 years, maybe more. On the desk, the same small desk that sat in my room, there was a note. Same yellowed paper, same shaky handwriting, the same hand that had written the rules I'd found under my pillow. I picked it up. Read it. Day 4th 387. Still can't find the stairs down. Sunrise never comes. 4,087 days. That was almost 12 years. 12 years trapped on a floor that didn't exist. 12 years waiting for a sunrise that never arrived. I looked at the bottom of the note. There was more. Different ink, fresher, written more recently. There are 14 of us now. You'll be 15. I dropped the note, stepped backward. 14 of them, 14 people, or things, wearing my face. Living in rooms on a floor that shouldn't exist. And I would be the 15th, unless I found a way out. I ran, back the way I came, past room 616, past room 615, where I could still hear faint laughter through the door. I needed to get back to 614, back to the only room I recognized, back to where the stairs had been. But the corridor was longer, much longer. I'd walked maybe 30 feet when I arrived. The distance between the stairwell and my room had been short, direct. Now it stretched endlessly ahead of me, door after door after door, numbers climbing higher. 618, 6119, 620. They were multiplying. I could feel it happening, see it happening, doors appearing at the edges of my vision, the corridor extending with every step I took. I was running, but I wasn't getting closer. I stopped, bent over, hands on my knees, gasping for breath, looked up. Every door I could see was slightly open. Just an inch or two, just enough to see the darkness inside. And in that darkness, in every single room, there was someone standing, facing the wall, perfectly still, not moving, not breathing, just standing in the far corner of each room with their back to the door. They were all wearing my clothes. The same jeans, the same wrinkled shirt, the same shoes. Dozens of them, maybe more, standing in their rooms, waiting. I started walking again, faster, not running. I couldn't run anymore, but moving as quickly as my legs would carry me. I kept my eyes forward, didn't look at the doors, didn't look at the figures inside. Just focused on finding 614, on finding my room. Then I heard it, a sound to my left, the soft creak of someone turning. I looked. I didn't want to. Every instinct screamed at me not to. But I looked. One of them had turned around, slowly, deliberately, like a rusted mechanism rotating for the first time in years. It was wearing my body, my height, my build. But its face, it didn't have one. Smooth skin stretched from hairline to chin. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. Just blank, featureless flesh where a face should have been. And it was turning toward me. I ran, blind panic, legs burning, lungs screaming. Past more doors, past more figures. I didn't look anymore. Couldn't look. Just ran until I saw it. Room 614. The door was open, waiting for me. I threw myself inside, slammed the door behind me, locked it, bolted it, pressed my back against the wood. The corridor went silent. No footsteps, no pursuit, nothing. Just me, alone in a room that wouldn't let me leave. Surrounded by things wearing my face, waiting for a sunrise that would never come. I was going to be number 15, unless I could find another way. I stood with my back against the door for a long time. Minutes, maybe longer, I lost track. My breathing eventually slowed. My heart rate eventually dropped. The immediate terror faded into something duller. Something that sat in my chest like a stone. I opened my eyes. The room was darker. The lamp on the nightstand was still on. The overhead light was still on. Nothing had changed. But the room was darker, like the light couldn't reach as far as it should, like shadows were gathering in places shadows shouldn't exist. The corners of the room were pitch black, impenetrable. I couldn't see where the walls met anymore. And then the TV clicked on. I hadn't touched the remote, hadn't gone near the dresser. But the old television, the kind with the bulky back and the curved screen, flickered to life on its own. Static at first, gray and white noise, the hiss filling the room like whispered voices. I remembered the note, Rule 3. If the TV turns on by itself, don't watch. Close your eyes. I should have closed my eyes. I didn't. The static cleared. An image appeared. It was room 614. This room, shot from above, like a security camera mounted in the corner of the ceiling. I looked up. There was no camera, nothing but smooth plaster and a water stain I hadn't noticed before. But on the screen, on the TV, there was a perfect overhead view of this exact room. And I was in it. On the screen, I was lying in the bed, eyes closed, chest rising and falling slowly, peacefully asleep. But I wasn't in the bed. I was standing 3 feet in front of the television, watching myself sleep. The footage was happening in real time. On the screen, the lamp on the nightstand flickered slightly. I looked at the actual lamp. It flickered at the exact same moment. The timestamp in the corner of the footage read the current time, the current minute, the current second. I was watching a live feed of myself sleeping, while I was awake, while I was standing right here. And then something moved on the screen. The bathroom door on the TV opened. Slowly, just a few inches at first, then wider. A figure emerged from the darkness inside. It was shaped like a person, tall, thin, moving with unnatural smoothness, like its joints bent in ways human joints shouldn't. It stepped into the room, toward the bed, toward the version of me that was sleeping. I spun around. The actual bathroom door was closed, exactly as I'd left it when I slammed it shut hours ago. I looked back at the TV. The figure was standing over the bed now, looking down at my sleeping form, watching me, the way a predator watches prey. Then it turned, slowly, deliberately. It looked directly at the camera, at me, through the screen. Its face was blank, the same smooth, featureless flesh I'd seen on the figure in the corridor. But somehow, I knew it could see me. It raised one hand and waved. The TV shut off. The screen went black. The room plunged into deeper darkness as the lamp flickered once, twice, and dimmed to half its brightness. I didn't move. I didn't turn around. Because if I turned around, if I looked at the bathroom door, I might see that it was open. I needed to understand what was happening. Rules, patterns, something logical I could hold on to. If this place had rules, if the note existed, then there had to be a system, a way it worked. And if I understood the system, maybe I could find a loophole, a way out. I started searching the room, not for an exit this time, for information. I pulled open the closet, empty, just bare hangers on a wooden rod. I checked under the bed, nothing but dust and shadow. I opened the dresser drawers, empty, empty, empty. Then I opened the nightstand drawer. There was a book inside, leather-bound, old. The cover cracked and worn from age. I pulled it out, opened it. It was a guest book, the same style as the one in the lobby, the same yellowed pages, the same columns for name, date, and room number. I flipped to the first page. Read the first entry. The name was mine. My full name, my exact signature, the same way I'd signed when I checked in. But the date was wrong. March 14th, 1943. I turned the page. Another entry, same name, same handwriting. July 22nd, 1951. Another page, December 3rd, 1967. Another, September 8th, 1982. Every single entry was my name. Page after page after page. 80 years of dates, hundreds of signatures, all identical. All mine. I'd never been to this hotel before tonight. I'd never even heard of this town before my car broke down. But according to this book, I'd been checking into room 614 for nearly a century. I flipped to the last page, the most recent entry, today's date, my handwriting, the signature I didn't remember making, and underneath it, in smaller letters, cramped, desperate, barely legible. I keep checking in. I never check out. I dropped the book. It hit the floor with a sound that was too loud, too final, like a door slamming shut, like a coffin lid closing. I'd been here before, not once, not twice, hundreds of times, and every single time, every version of me that had signed that book, none of them had ever left. I was still staring at the guest book on the floor when I heard it. 3 knocks. Slow, deliberate, the exact same rhythm as before. I didn't move, didn't breathe. The note had said not to answer. I'd already broken that rule once. I wasn't going to break it again. The knocking stopped. Silence settled over the room. I waited, counted the seconds, 10, 20, 30. Then the door opened. I hadn't unlocked it. I hadn't touched the handle. But it swung inward anyway, slow and smooth, like it was being pushed by an invisible hand. The clerk stood in the doorway, still wearing that burgundy blazer from another decade, still standing with that perfect, practiced posture, still smiling, that same smile, the one that stretched too wide, the one that reached the eyes in the wrong way. She'd been smiling since the moment I arrived. She'd never stopped. "Checkout was at sunrise," she said. Her voice was calm, pleasant, like she was reading from a script she'd memorized long ago. You missed it again. Again. That word hung in the air between us. Again. What do you mean again? I heard myself ask. My voice sounded distant, like it was coming from somewhere else. The clerk tilted her head. The same way a bird tilts its head when it's examining something. When it's deciding whether something is prey. Her smile didn't change. Didn't waver. You've stayed here 147 times, she said. You always miss it. You always stay. 147 times. 147 nights in room 604. 147 versions of me who had seen the note, heard the knocks, broken the rules. 147 versions who had waited for sunrise. And missed it every single time. How do I leave? I asked. There has to be a way out. There has to be... She stepped backward, into the corridor. Her movement was fluid, unnatural, like a film playing in reverse. Room 614 will always have a vacancy, she said. Her smile finally changed, just slightly, just enough to show teeth. Because you never leave. The door closed. Not slammed, not pushed. Just closed, gently, quietly, like a final breath. I was alone again, trapped in a room I'd apparently never escaped. One of 147, soon to be 148. Unless something changed, unless this time was different, unless I could find what all the other versions of me had missed. I stood in the center of the room for a long time after she left, trying to process, trying to think. 147 times. I'd been here 147 times, and I had no memory of any of them. Unless I did. Unless the memories were there, buried somewhere deep, hidden beneath whatever this place did to people who stayed too long. I needed to see myself. Needed to look into my own eyes and know that I was still me, still real, still human. The bathroom mirror. I knew I shouldn't. The note had warned me. I'd already seen what lived in that reflection. But I couldn't stop myself. I walked to the bathroom door, put my hand on the handle, pushed it open. The bathroom was empty. No figure, no movement, just tiles and fixtures and the steady drip of a faucet that wouldn't fully close. And the mirror, waiting. I stepped inside, stood in front of the sink, raised my eyes. My reflection stared back at me. Same face, same tired eyes, same fear written in every line. For a moment, just a moment, I thought everything was normal. Then my reflection spoke. Its lips moved, mine didn't. Its voice came from everywhere and nowhere, from the glass, from the walls, from inside my own skull. You found the notes before. I couldn't move, couldn't look away. You wrote them, it continued. You always try to warn yourself. What? My voice cracked. What do you mean I wrote them? The reflection tilted its head, the same way the clerk had, the same unnatural angle. Every time, every cycle, you find paper, you find a pen, you write down the rules, you hide them under the pillow. You hope the next version will listen. The next version never does. I gripped the edge of the sink, felt cold porcelain under my fingers. What am I? I whispered. The reflection smiled. The same too wide smile the clerk wore. The same smile I'd seen on the figure in room 615. The same smile I'd been running from all night. My own smile, stretched across my own face. In a mirror that no longer showed what was real. You're not a guest, the reflection said. You're not trapped. You are the room. You are room 614. I shook my head, tried to step back. My legs wouldn't move. No, that's not... I drove here. My car broke down. I walked for miles. I checked in. I'm a person. I have a life. I have memories, the reflection interrupted. Tell me, what's your mother's name? I opened my mouth to answer. Nothing came out. Where did you grow up? What city? What street? I couldn't remember. What were you doing before your car broke down? Where were you going? Why? I couldn't remember any of it. I had no memories before the highway, no life before the walk, no existence before I saw the red neon sign buzzing in the darkness. I was just here. I'd always been here. Every time someone checks in, the reflection said, you think you're them. You take their face, their voice, their fear. You relive the first night over and over. You run from yourself. You hide from yourself. You scream at yourself in mirrors and pound on doors and beg for help that will never come. And when sunrise approaches, when you almost escape, you forget, and it starts again. There is no narrator, the reflection said. There's only the hotel, and you've always been part of it. And then the memories came. Not slowly, not gently. They crashed into me like a wave, like a dam breaking, like a door that had been locked for decades, finally splintering apart. I saw myself checking in, but not tonight, a different night. Decades ago. Different clothes, a wool coat, suspenders, a hat I'd never owned in my life. The clerk looked younger. The lobby looked newer. But it was the same hotel, the same front desk, the same brass key sliding across the counter. Room 614, 6th floor, end of the corridor. Another memory. Checking in again, different clothes, bell-bottoms, a paisley shirt, hair longer than I'd ever worn it. The same key, the same smile, the same words. Checkout is at sunrise, not after. Another, and another, and another. Dozens of arrivals, dozens of faces, all mine, spanning decades I'd never lived through, wearing fashions from eras I'd only seen in photographs. I was there. Every single time. I'd always been there. Then the other memories came. The ones I didn't want to see. I saw myself sitting on the bed, pen in hand, paper on the nightstand, writing. Rule 1, Rule 2, Rule 3, Rule 4. My hand shaking, my eyes wide with terror. Writing the warning, folding it carefully, hiding it under the pillow, hoping, praying that the next version would listen, that the next version would be smarter, faster, better, that the next version would escape before they became what I'd become. I saw myself standing in the bathroom, stepping through the door, becoming the thing that crawled from the darkness, standing over the bed, looking down at my sleeping form, waving at the camera. I saw myself in the corridor, standing in room 615, room 616, room 617, facing the wall, waiting, wearing a face that wasn't a face anymore, turning slowly when someone walked past, showing them what they would become. I saw myself at the front desk, answering the phone. Room 614, how may I help you? Speaking to myself, warning myself, begging myself not to come. Leaving voicemails that arrived before I'd even checked in. Trying to break the loop, failing every time. I'd been every version, every guest, every warning, every monster. The final memory was the worst. I saw myself standing at a door in a corridor that stretched forever. I raised my hand. I knocked. Once, twice, 3 times. And on the other side, terrified, frozen, remembering a note they should have listened to, was me. A new version, a fresh victim, about to open the door anyway. I was the thing that knocked 3 times. I was what waited in the corridor. I was the smile that stretched too wide. I was the wave at the camera. I was the voice on the phone. I was room 614. And suddenly, horribly, I remembered one more thing. My car hadn't broken down. Not by accident. It broke down because it always broke down. At the same spot on Route 47, 60 miles from the only hotel for 60 miles. The car was part of it. The walk was part of it. The exhaustion, the desperation. The relief when I saw the vacancy sign. All of it, every single detail, was the trap. The hotel didn't wait for guests to wander in. It called them. It built the road, built the breakdown, built the path. And at the end of that path, every single time, I found myself checking into room 614 because I wasn't a person who'd been trapped by a hotel. I was a hotel that had forgotten it wasn't a person. And every time I remembered, every time I came this close to understanding, sunrise would approach, and I would forget, and it would start again. And then, nothing. The memories dissolved, like fog burning off in morning light, like dreams slipping away the moment you open your eyes. I tried to hold on to them, tried to grip them with everything I had, but they were already gone. Fading, disappearing into the dark corners of a mind that wasn't entirely my own anymore. The room flickered. Not the lights, the room itself. Like a television losing signal, like reality buffering, loading, resetting. And then everything was clean. The tally marks on the walls, gone. The guest book on the floor, gone. The crumpled note in the trash, gone. Everything was fresh, pristine, untouched. Like no one had ever stayed here. Like nothing had ever happened. I was standing at the door. My bag was in my hand. The brass key was in the lock. I'd just arrived. I'd just walked in for the first time. Except something felt wrong. A whisper at the back of my mind. A shadow of a memory I couldn't quite reach. Something about a note. Something about rules. Something about knocking. I looked at the bed. Fresh white linens, perfectly made, pillow fluffed and centered. And underneath that pillow, I knew, somehow, without knowing how I knew, there was a note. A folded piece of yellowed paper, with 4 rules written in shaky handwriting. I could feel it there, feel its presence like a weight, like a warning I'd forgotten to give myself. All I had to do was walk over, lift the pillow, read the words. All I had to do was remember. But I was so tired, so exhausted from the drive, from the breakdown, from the long walk through the darkness. I just wanted to sleep, just for a few hours. Then I'd explore the room. Then I'd look under the pillow. What was I thinking about? I couldn't remember. Something important. Something I was supposed to do. But it was gone now, lost in the fog of exhaustion. I set my bag on the dresser, sat on the edge of the bed, let out a long breath. The room was quiet, peaceful, exactly what I needed after such a long night. Outside the window, the sky was dark, no hint of sunrise, no indication of how many hours remained until morning. I'd check out early, before dawn, get back to my car, figure out repairs. That was the plan. I was sure I'd remember. I always think I'll remember. I posted this story online so someone would find it. So maybe, just maybe, I'd remember. So maybe, somewhere out there, some version of me would hear these words and recognize themselves, and break the loop, and finally check out before sunrise. But here's the thing. You just finished watching this. You just listened to every word. Which means you know about room 614 now. You know about the 6th floor that shouldn't exist. You know about the note, the rules, the knocking. And the hotel always needs new guests. Have you ever driven down a road you didn't recognize? Have you ever felt your car shudder just once for no reason at all? Have you ever seen a vacancy sign flickering in the distance and felt something pull at you? Something you couldn't explain? Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just coincidence. Or maybe room 614 just learned your name. Check your door tonight before you go to sleep. Make sure it's locked. And if you hear 3 knocks, slow, deliberate, spaced just far enough apart, don't answer. Whatever you do, don't answer, because that might just be me trying to warn you, the way I've been trying to warn myself for over a century. Or maybe it's you, a version of you that already checked in, a version that's already become part of the hotel, trying to save the version that's still free, the version listening to this right now. While there's still time, sleep well tonight. And if you wake up somewhere you don't recognize, if you find a note under your pillow, read it. Follow the rules. And for the love of everything, check out before sunrise. So, tell me, if you found yourself in room 614 tonight, do you think you'd follow the rules? Or would curiosity get the better of you? Would you answer those 3 knocks? Drop your answer in the comments below. I read every single one. And if this story kept you watching, if you felt that chill run down your spine even once, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. Because I have more stories like this, stories about places you shouldn't visit, doors you shouldn't open, rooms that remember everyone who's ever stayed in them. Subscribe now, before you forget, before the next loop begins. I'll see you in the next one, if you make it through the night.